the voice of education. Today, here in our studio, we have Dr. Atindra Dahal, Associate Professor, Kathmandu School of Law. He is a columnist, a researcher, and an educationist. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Vishesha.
How are you?
Yeah, going well. Things are going good and great, fine.
Before my saying anything, could you tell something about your academic journey right from your school level?
Vishwaji, to be a bit precise about my academic journey, I had my preliminary primary level education in Shankhwasabha, the home district where I was born. Did schooling up to SLC, even IA. Then I switched and shifted to Dhankuta in order to pursue bachelor's degree in arts. I pursued my graduation from there. Then in 2016 I came to Kathmandu in order to pursue master's degree, that was in MA in English. Coming here in Kathmandu made me to have almost a breathtaking shock that the education what I was expecting and experiencing there was exactly different rather than what I faced here. So I remained almost in an underground life for certain years in order to pursue my master's degree. Did MA in English Literature and Philosophy and did MPhil in English Literature and Philosophy. Then even pursued MA in Political Science and then continued to pursue PhD in Political Science, specializing on issues of nation state building. And that was completed almost 4 years back. So this is how I pursued, but it was really a rough track journey.
Well, you must have had very, this beautiful career after a long struggle.
It's going on rather than beautiful. I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
I'm smug and enjoying it.
So, you've been in this education sector for a long time. So what do you think of the present status of education in Nepal compared to the global scenario?
Vishwesha, it may be a bit an injustice to claim that I've been engaging in this educational scenario since long. It has hardly been a decade now. I started teaching in university level education formally 9 years back, despite I was having some other efforts and tries previous than that. So there are many people and towering figures who have contributed a great deal, many decades and almost half centuries. So it is not worth to mention that way. However, I'm thankful to you for your work. In course of justifying how our education system is in terms of international or global scenario, we have to try basically to check and make a very close eye from two different viewpoints, I believe. First thing is there have been certain very positive and hopeful issues that our education sector has experienced in last couple of few decades. One of that is there is a very phenomenal rise and growth in literacy rate in Nepal itself.
Yes.
If we check last 50 years, the only 2% people were simply literate, not even educated, simply literate in 2007 when Nepal first experienced and enjoyed multi-party democracy. But in 50, almost 70 years of down the lane time today, we do have literacy rate almost as like very renowned and highly educated countries of the world. So this is one of very pleasing points and we need to be quite euphoric about it. Similarly, there has been exponential expansion in number of schools, education, universities, or educational and academic institutions throughout the nation. Though mushrooming educational institutions sometimes have even added certain pros and cons on the both sides, but the number itself is really worth rating and reading. Similarly, there have been exceptional extension in number of academic courses, or rather I love to call it branches of human knowledge, which are being taught into school to and university levels. If we check history, almost till 30 to 25 years back, people were very broadly, categorically stratifying themselves into only science, engineering, arts, education, those like of academic disciplines. But there have been such a noticeable exploration, division and further stratification in branches of human knowledge. There are stories from hospitality to culinary arts to mountaineering to so many of other innovative and unique subjects and equations of the world.
Fashion
designing.
And
so if we, of course.
Yeah.
So therefore, and if we check some other aspect, there has been very noticeable presence of Nepalese students across almost 195 countries of the world.
Wow.
So if we check from these viewpoints, our educational sector, our academic status, growth is quite comparable and worth appraising and saluting, even in comparison of the world status and scenario. But every answer will be so easy unless the big word but comes. In other scenario, every coin has two sides too. There have been some very painful aspects to some extent in other issues. One is our education these days has been extremely commodified, and we have started to take it as a commodity that can be easily purchased rather than to be pursued in pursuit of growth and happiness. Most of educational sectors or educational activities are more grounded only in order to commission merit certificates rather than promoting values, justice, righteousness, behaviors. Ancient classical scholar Confucius would regard that education has to cultivate values and justice, but that is all being undermined, understandably undermined. And we are being excessively hyped and focused only in terms of commissioning certificate. That has made educational values be a bit dwindled.
Do you mean to say that the spiritual aspect of education, such as the spiritual refinement and the humanitarian concepts that we should have, they are lacking?
Obviously those are also lacking. However, still the concept of spiritual understanding and humanitarian viewpoint will be still a far cry and uphill battle to ensure. Even the very easiest thing, the sense of right and wrongness is also not being very properly identified.
Ethical values.
Ethical values and ethical dimensions are not clear much. Synchronously, we can even consider government's understandable underestimation and underrating to education. Since it has been remained quite static in terms of financing and funding education. Right after Second World War, we even can say that some of the countries were even allocating and earmarking almost 49 to 50% budget in education sector, but our Nepalese government has never been able, and that has never come into consideration of government yet.
I think we've got now 23%.
Yeah, though this is highest, but it's not yet enough. Some very strong and permanent activities are needed in order to improve educational sector of Nepal, but government is simply trying to unleash piecemeal basis solution strategy, and which will not be helping much. And another very heart-wrenching aspect, the earth-shattering fact of education sector in Nepal is we are being cheap labor producer for so many other countries of the world, despite there has been remarkable growth in terms of educational institutions, academic courses, literacy rate. Despite there has been significant awareness in people in order to be educated, the ultimate product, nation and our society has not yet received the fortune of enjoying their fruits and contribution in the country, and this is one of the very relatable dark side of Nepalese education sector, I believe.
Well, my point is, as you stated, education has been commodified.
Yeah.
And only a certain strata of people have been enjoying the fruits of education.
Okay, fine.
The other side is people from this moderate economic background cannot afford, and they pursue their education in certain fields, but they cannot apply the expertise that they have gained.
Okay.
So what do you think this this lack of synchronization will lead the nation to?
The idea whatever you have stated is not completely and entirely untrue. There are certain realities. However, the way how I perceive is certain people who are not able to finance and fund other type of education are compelled to go for some generic and normal discipline. The way how we are perceiving itself is faulty and should be recovered a great deal, I believe.
Yes.
The expertism, every subject has unique and exceptionally exponential scale of expertism if we can try to reveal it. No subject, no discipline is good or bad in itself. I often state outside too that a farmer will be of equal need to society, even of greater need to society now rather than a medical doctor or the engineering professional and so on. So rather than looking and trying to explore expertise, greatness into that or this discipline and try to apply and adopt that in our scenario, we have to be more considerate and careful in order to explore the same level and scale of beauty in every other generic subject and should try to adopt it. So the better synchronization can be done by revealing the expertise, beauty, values which we can explore from those like of subjects which are of rather greater need to us. To be very precise and frank, rather than aeronautic engineer, best farmers and agro engineers may be of our need. Rather than more of educational, let's say medicine professional, more of tourism professionals may be of our need. So rather than being excessively overhyped and infatuated with the value of high sounding academic disciplines, which may not be of pragmatically fitting as per our real ground reality, we have to equally be considerate and careful enough to discover the latent beauty, hidden glory of even every other normal subject which can be best exercised, best accommodated in our situation, our society, our life, and so on.
So, shall we understand that way that we are placing more values on certain disciplines than others without understanding the ground of reality?
Yeah, fine, exactly. That is. So, whenever we talk about violence, discrimination, and so on, epistemic violence always comes at the first. We have even been, let's say, placed into violence of knowledge as well. Okay. The way how we think and how our understanding is choreographed is all shaped from the Western locations, their philosophers, their educationists, academicians, and so on. So we have been trained to realize, assimilate, and rather vomit the same ideas repeatedly that these disciplines are good and others are nonsense, which is absolutely objectionable.
Okay.
And this is to be revisited and revisioned a great deal. So if we try to explore every subject, will be multi-layer beautiful. $1 million beauty can be explored into every subject, every discipline, and which are of our needs should be more focused.
Well, that reality has to be understood in the society and even the parents. No subject is better than the other subjects. Every subject, every discipline, so to say, discipline would be better. Every discipline has got its own value. Naturally, people would see livelihood. And we have got the tendency that if my son or daughter goes to literature or arts or history or geography, this life would be difficult to sustain. That is what is the wrong concept.
Obviously.
Because there is beauty.
That's wrong concept.
And there is pragmatism in every discipline. Thank you very much, Dr. Dahal, for that. So let me go to another issue.
Fine.
You've been dealing with higher level students most often. Most often. And in your preliminary phase of teaching career, you started with +2 students, I suppose. So, what are the categories of difficulties that you faced in these 2 levels?
I guess there will not be much of difficulties with dealing with students and engaging into academic activities, provided if we try to transfigure ourselves in a slightly different manner. Senior level student, most often whom you have called, though they are really senior in terms of even their age, even their profession, maturity, and so on. Among business students, master's degree level business students whom I teach, even currently there is a class in one of the particular colleges where the junior most student in class among 30 is 13 years seniors to me in the age. So young students will have an intention for voracious reading. They will have an unending appetite for knowledge, though they do not have competency, capability, and vigor in order to control, systematize, and very perfectly steer it out. Though it cannot really be controlled into good manner, but they do have that appetite, that zeal. That is one of the better aspects, but they need more, let's say, more of rigorous and regular guidance.
Okay.
But most of senior, whom we call senior, sometimes it feels a bit pinching. Are they really senior in terms of exhibiting responsible academic culture? This is questionable always. They are seniors in terms of age to some extent. They do have their own busy schedule. Most of them have professional life.
Yeah.
And study as such will hardly be a primary priority to them. So, and this is the level where, from the way how education is more wrongly exploited, because they make it a tool and an acquired blur for academic, let's say professional promotion, tool to get certificates, and so on. So the thrust for voracious reading and exceptional appetite, one of the measurable appetite in order to have better quest of knowledge, can be relatively and somewhat more reflected from the junior level students in comparison to senior.
Well, my point is the students at +2 level are generally taught to comprehend or to interpret.
Fine.
Or very less efforts are made for analytical approaches.
Fine.
But once we go for higher studies, or as you say, senior students, we focus on more creativity, more analytical approaches and all. But have you ever felt that they do not have got that level of comprehensibility in order to go to the analytical approach?
Okay, we have to be more analytical, more research oriented in senior level. We believe so. How far we have been so is still a part to judge, and it may be an early comment that whether we have been able or we have not been able to do so on. But it is an inexorable point of education that we should not prevent it, and cannot prevent that to happen. That has to happen a day at least. But even whenever they go for certain analytical research based applicability, or let's say application aspects of education, they obviously need to have a certain level of comprehension, how it can be applied, where can it be applied. The basic and fundamental issues are to be on their note. And provided if that is not successfully dealt on, let's say the lower levels, which we are talking about secondary, higher secondary, we can never expect them to come with that level of competency later on. The base is always on undeniable foundational aspect. So whatsoever they have to achieve later on, the comprehensibility will have an undeniable value, which we can, we should try to promote at the best scale and level, whatever we can do.
Well, the another problematic aspect that I have personally heard from various students from various high level educational sectors is that research is really very difficult for them, or they face many problems. So as you are a researcher as well as a research guide, so when you guide your students into research, what are the basic problems that you have noted?
Probably this will make an inexplicable long list if we start talking about it.
But
however, the major key fundamental issues of implementing the resource, major difficulties of implementing resource into a real value ground is, we do have serious misconception regarding resource. One is, the researchers are always so very biased, prejudiced, that they feel that their assumptions should be always tested correct. If I do have some doubt and try to go into let's say a hospital or with a doctor and ask whether am I tested positive with corona, doctors are free to test and give any right result. It's not that I can compel doctor that he or she should say me that I'm positive because I feel so. So my concern should be doctors should test rightly, not that the results should be as per my expectation.
Definitely.
So this is one of the point where...
so you mean to say that students need the same answer?
Same answer, and they deliberately try to manipulate the data in order to get that result.
Okay.
So
even the researchers?
Even researchers. The data, whatever they get for the purpose of research, they try to intentionally manipulate in order to get the answer to be completely aligned with their prior assumption and predisposition. Okay. This is a serious offense of data doctoring. So that is called data doctoring these days. They will try to make a data doctoring with that like of intention first. One. Another problem with research is that research has been a very easy tool for engaging into academic misconduct these days. Rather than they will come with, they engage into serious academic abuse with research. come with complete plagiarism, copy paste of others' ideas, rather than taking others' views and perception propositions as baseline guideline to build your argument, to support, piggyback, let's say backfire your point of thought. But they will not exactly take other scholars for the purpose of supporting your research, rather get the chunk, let's say bunch of collection of others' meat and ideas they come with and present it as a research product. So that has been really a problematic issue to deal with. So research rather than a serious, organic, original, systematic study, it has been largely misunderstood and even knowingly, unknowingly being utilized as the senseless compilation and collections of already predisposed ideas from other people.
Very beautiful. Already predisposed ideas.
So
compilation of already predisposed ideas.
Therefore,
that should not be.
That should not be. This is not the thrust. This is not the thrust of the research.
Yeah. My point is, let alone the students, high-level students, even the professors we have heard time and again have been involved in unethical activities of research just for the sake of promotion.
Okay, fine.
What do you think of it?
I don't think of so. I blame them so. Because this is reality. I don't just only think so. This is reality. This is ground reality. A bare reality. There are so many professors rather whose position, prestige, our professors are really responsible in order to decay and damage the dignity of professors, whatever is being paid in the world. There are many who engage into endless series of plagiarism. There have been news very frequently about them. I believe before blaming to students and coming research, the researchers or practitioner researchers, the biggest share of responsibility should be borne by the professors themselves.
Definitely, because
they are the guide. And what I believe is students will be always cultivated and promoted as per their best professors or the point of let's say the person of the point who teaches and guides them. So we often say that teachers or professors are such persons who spread the light. But Vishwaji, I strongly believe in order to spread the light, first you need to ensure that the lamp is lit. And in order to get the lamp lit, that you should continuously keep on adding resources.
Yes.
And our professors have to now very strongly and seriously examine themselves whether they are adding resources and they feel that they are being lit.
Okay.
And how could a dead lamp spread the light is a serious question.
The lamp without the fuel.
Fuel, which is already dead, which is not being lit at, can never expect to spread the light. So rather than only blaming a student, I would like to seriously pass this blame to the pool of the professors who should take the bigger responsibility of this offense.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Dahal. Another point is, as we have already talked about various disciplines, generally speaking, I find researches have been conducted less in terms of literature or even social sciences in such a way that their pragmatism can be applied. What sorts of researches do you think should come into practice these days for the sake of human welfare or for the development of the country?
Okay, whenever we try to integrate and synchronize research with the development or welfare of the nation, betterment of the society, we need to be precisely careful and ineluctably careful about a couple of issues, like whether the research and its finding can germinate any new concept for the development of country and support with the government system. Most of our researches have simply been for the sake of intellectual joy and pursuit of, let's say, capacity to have better debate skills. Our researchers are trying, our researchers prepare them best to be a good orator somewhere else rather than to generate and germinate life skills.
Beautiful.
So why not do we try to conduct some resources that what can really be helpful in order to upgrade the agricultural productivity of nation?
Good.
What could really bring so many, help us bring so many tourists in country?
Those things, those things are the technical aspects
Yeah.
or technical disciplines.
Okay, fine.
My point is,
In literature.
generally there is a blame,
Yeah.
Studying literature, what are you going to do? Are you going to recite the poems of Shakespeare in the society?
Yeah.
Or even in other aspects like Sanskrit, or even anthropological researches and social science researches, people have put on many questions.
Okay.
Well, you did this and did, but what effects or what good effects will your research have for the society?
Okay.
So how can we turn it into
Fine.
pragmatism?
One of the serious lacunas in doing resources, the way how people are perceiving resources is that we simply try to categorize some subjects as mere the subject or discipline of, let's say, comprehensive thinking, critical understanding, and so on. But we can explore lots of other pragmatic values. Even there are many literatures which have sufficiently oriented and drill people on how they can live quality life. What are the values of righteousness? What are the values of justice? How
Even
you,
in literature,
even in literature. Like whenever we are at the time of Corona crisis, if somebody comes with a very wonderful literature on how can we decode Corona non-medically by being aligned with the orientations of life and the daily livelihood practices which are explained into Vedic civilization and philosophy.
Yes.
So why not we can bring it into our life? So doing researches in literature, Sanskrit, anthropology, a language, literature are only for per se of expanding cognitive, let's say, side of people or cognitive dimension of people is an outcome of completely a fault and partial understanding.
Okay.
We have not been able to do so. That's another weakness. But if we do, like if we try to explore how good and scientific practices were explained in Vedic philosophy in order to live healthy and hygienic life, if some such a resource comes into floor and front now,
even those disciplines will have great values
of course,
in our society.
in our society.
And people will be redirected to such disciplines.
Yeah,
That's
of
what
course,
is my question.
Fine, of course. So we have not been able to explore up to that extent.
Okay.
But those resources will be always of no fruit for the resource is not a point. This is a blank point game.
All right.
This is only a blank point game.
Beautifully said,
Yeah.
Dr. Dahal. The importance that we have placed on social sciences has to be re-evaluated.
Yeah.
And research is a tool
Yeah.
to provide the guidelines,
Okay.
to re-evaluate the social sciences that have been given such a great importance in other countries in the world.
Yeah.
Well, now let me go to another discipline,
Okay, fine.
law.
Yeah.
Since you are the student or you are, doing with the law as well,
Yeah, fine.
you are dealing with law,
Yeah.
you are working in a law college. So, could you tell our audience what could be the diverse aspects that law students can work with?
Okay. Every student from every discipline can work with diverse aspects if he or she is good at. I often believe that you should be the first and you should always be the smart one, whatever you be. The world notices only the first. Tenzing Norgay Sherpa was the first expeditor on Mount Everest. Everybody knows. I know. You know. Everyone knows.
But we don't know the second
We don't know
one.
the second. And fairly, I too don't know the second. So it's not simply the issue of one.
Okay,
The difference of one has a great value.
definitely.
Yeah. So you can get water boil at 100, but not in 99. And we can get the ice free, let's say water freeze and come to ice at 0, but not at 1. So therefore, every student from every discipline can explore their career, can beautify the life, come with very gladdening output and outcomes, wonderfully, let's say, record-keeping recompenses from every disciplines. However, since you have been specifically asked in terms of law, I do have a little bit correction that I'm not doing with law. Rather, I work at the law school.
Okay.
I deal with law student as an associate professor there. My subject there is political. I deal them with political science, political theories and thoughts. But the prospect that law students can gain and the way how they can explore in society future is, I say that a good lawyer is the social engineer. Can try to re-engineer society into a good, can work to re-engineer society into better manner.
True.
On the quest of harmonized, balanced, civilized and updated and scientific society. So therefore he or she, from different aspects, from fighting for the right of family members and other people who are let's say violated in terms of their rights in society, to instructing and advising the country professionals or the people in power to adopt better rules regulation to systematize country. So they do have roles in every point from center to circumference. So in sum and substance both, law students can contribute a great deal.
It is not only fighting a case in the court, but there are other aspects.
So there are many of let's say many of multi-million progressive issues rather than simply making money by fighting with the cases.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like human rights issues, environmental issues, and many other issues that drive society into a better one.
Probably there is no any single issue that is detached from this discipline and every other discipline.
And every other discipline.
Every other discipline.
Wow, beautifully said, Dr. Dahal. So we are towards the end of the program.
Fine.
What do you have to say to the present students affected by COVID-19 scenario?
Okay. Especially, I should request all of students not to get into panic, not to be over suffocated. This is unnatural, often keeps on intermittently happening in society. Though there have not been much of records, the world was mercilessly shattered because of Black Death in 14th century. The Spanish flu is in discussion a great deal. So this keeps on happening.
Yeah.
However, I strongly believe that COVID rather than bacterial infection is an outcome and product of our hypocritical, unscientific, unpragmatic lifestyles. I believe I have a different proposition and observation about COVID. And I equally care that rather than medical subject inquiry and investigation, this should be more decoded non-medically, I believe, which is
decoded
to be
non-medically.
Yeah, corona.
Could you please
elaborate
a little bit?
Corona should be decoded non-medically, because if we adopt our lifestyles being best and aligned with Vedic civilization and culture, corona and this like of bacteria-based infections can be easily, let's say, decreased and defeated. How scientific was our culture and civilization? If we simply give a look, that we were instructed to make residence into certain distances.
Yes.
This is the decorum of Hindu civilization in terms of life practices.
Not the clustering of houses.
Not much of crowded pattern. We never had system of making toilet inside house in our culture. We were never allowed to have this like of junk foods and so on. Or we go and take a bath in a swimming pool where 300 people come and spit, urinate. And in name of modernity, whatever we are doing, the senseless modernism we are following are making us more vulnerable to the disease.
Strongly agreed.
So are making more vulnerable to the diseases. So rather than trying to get the way of overcoming corona with medicine, vaccine, we have to try to revise our Vedic civilization based, very scientific and pragmatic lifestyle. So corona should be non-medically decoded. Medically, it has nothing to do.
Even the physical attachment was not there in our culture.
Fine.
You know, we had our namaste, we still have our namaste.
We have the practice of namaste, which is very wonderfully discussed across the globe. Not only that, we used to have the meat of only self-raised animals. We had system of changing garments coming from out.
Having a bath.
Having a bath. And only
taking a fast.
Other people, or we could have come into closeness of other people only drying hands in fire and so on. So it would really kill the germs. The way how the houses are, let's say, painted with cow dung, it really removes the germs away. So those lots of practices were there. So rather than being much in panic and being overhyped with when there will be medicine and then our situation will be normal, I encourage my all dear students, please try to decode corona non-medically, and let's adopt such lifestyles which promotes and boost immunity, so that corona will never be subject of concern and worrisome to us. Second is, even in this time, please keep on continue and have an uninterrupted journey of your academic progress, growth, and so on. If anything comes in your life and that will hamper your growth later on, citing corona cause as a reference will not compensate you at any cause of the time.
Yes.
So you should deliberately wait. And our education system has not made much of result because we have been more focused on creating English speaking machines rather than more capable human resources. So I please, dear friends, students, request you to have two strong dimensions of modern education. Vishwaji, these days, the entire education pedagogy, even andragogy, it's rather said for talking about senior level people, has focused on ARC's method of education.
Okay.
So education has to first cultivate better attitude in people rather than knowledge. Knowledge can be
obtained.
Knowledge can be a cup of tea for everybody else if they will go to internet, and nowadays that the entire globe is on the tip of finger everywhere else to everyone's access. So anybody can amass the information.
Attitudes and refinement, these are the things that we have to develop.
We have to develop. So collecting information is not knowledge, in fact, whatever we are misjudging these days. So please try to develop better attitude. If you do have positive, pragmatic, adjustable, harmonized attitude, every sector of the world uses beautiful 3 words, that is I love you. And if you do not develop it, the world everywhere again uses 3 words, that is you are fired. So it's up to you. So together with attitude, you have to try your level the best to develop skills and only the knowledge. Fine, knowledge can be achieved and obtained at any level if this is only measured into, let's say, amassing the informations.
Very beautiful.
The second issue, to be very precise and brief, I request all my dear students adopt a policy of an I4 in education. Okay. Currently, a concept of I4 has been given a wonderful emphasis and commensurate amount of, let's say, justification over the world. Institute Industry Interface Initiative. The way how we are not being able in order to synchronize and connect our institutional understanding, learning with industry and industry working processes, because we are all preparing ourselves for certain industry and the days to come, be it academic industry, be it banking industry, be it hospital industry, be it tourism industry, and so on. So together with collecting information, ideas, and getting updated and learned about what are academic ideas, you need to be sufficiently enthused to know about what are industry practices where you will be going tomorrow and you are preparing today. So let's try to bring industry and academia together while having your high level education, provided if you try a little bit of effort in order to develop nexus between these two sides, that will really make your academic journey relatively safe, secure, and sound, hoping that it should not catch any academic accident further.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dahal.
Thank you.
We had really an interesting time, and it's really a matter of great pleasure talking to you, sharing ideas, and most effectively those aspects of education that people have not so far touched have been touched today.
Fine.
You know, so Education Television and I myself must extend my vote of thanks for your precious time and beautiful ideas.
Thank you, Karkiji. I would even like to reciprocate with the same spirit to you as well for letting me have my views expressed here from, and getting the interested people and the concerned individual have certain connection if they like it. Thank you very much. I remain ever and always grateful to you and your entire team and this television network too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good time. Thank you.
So, dear audience, or my respected viewers, today we talked about higher level education and some of the seen problems and some mitigating measures, as well as certain ways as to how we can detach ourselves from the fear of COVID-19 and take the spirit to fight with it, not medically but spiritually. Keep on watching Education Television. Thank you.